In a Psychology Today article, the author, in a very clinical manner, revealed that hope is the belief that one holds during difficult circumstances, that things will get better. The article went on to say that hope is unique to our species because it requires words and thoughts to contemplate possible future events. It seems that the world around us is placing in our very presence many difficult circumstances. It began with a worldwide pandemic and now includes such things as runaway inflation, high gas prices, a choked-off supply chain, and continued legislation that promotes and facilitates abortion and euthanasia. And that is just a partial list of the many difficult circumstances that have recently befallen us. Despite such difficult circumstances, we often seek signs that offer us hope for better days ahead. Today's readings also speak of hope amidst difficult circumstances. In the first reading from the book of the prophet Baruch, we find the Jewish people held in captivity in Babylon. Biblical scholars suggest that the Babylonian captivity caused the depopulation or disappearance of about 50% of the Jewish people. In addition to those taken in captivity, there were many Jews killed during battle or siege, or they were executed by the Babylonian soldiers, or who fell prey to epidemics and famine. Those in exile remained captive for several generations. Now, amidst such misery, they were looking for a sign from God, a sign that would tell them that their captivity was about to come to an end, and they could return to Jerusalem. We, in our day, find ourselves, our children, and our friends held captive, so to speak, in a world that is caught up in adverse impacts of many personal and worldwide problems. If this is the case, then maybe we are also living captured in emotional depression as well. To counter such emotional depression, we should look towards signs of a better future, a future freed from all that holds us in our present bondage. Hope is much more than a psychological phenomenon. It is also an integral part of our spiritual lives. So what then of our spiritual lives? Are we looking for God's presence and love? Or have we perhaps given up and only go through the motions of a sort of pseudo-spiritual life with routine prayers, our hearts not being in our prayers? The testimony of the history of human salvation is that God wants to be sought. That is what the prophet Baruch was reminding the Israelites, held as they were in Babylonian captivity. That is what John the Baptist was all about, as we heard in today's gospel account. God wants to be sought. God wants to make our lives smoother. He wants us to help us move mountains of worry and anxiety. He wants to fill our depressed emotional valleys with peace and happiness of his presence within us. A presence that is powerfully within us as we face life's enormous challenges and trials. God does not want us to be held captive by all that would defeat us, especially by all the powers and forces that would tear us away from him in despairing loss of hope. God wants to be sought, but do we seek God? The church gives us the season of Advent so that we take the opportunity to look for God. So the question put in front of us this Advent is, do we want to seek God? Our church's season of Advent, after all, places in front of us echoes of times in human history when God appeared to be absent, when access to his love and his presence were seemingly denied to us. The images of Mary cradling her son under the watchful protection of Joseph are images that should invoke sentiments deep within us. They are images of promise, belief, and hope that the child will bring to our hearts promises that have not been smothered by this world's failures. We cannot, however, simply sit back and passively receive the life that they promise. We must activate ourselves. The voice of the prophet Baruch cries out to us to stand up and throw off the darkness. Go to the heights and seek him. Pursue the God who is coming to us to release us from whatever darkness holds us in captivity. Amid our various problems and disasters, let us take heed to the words uttered by St. Padre Pio. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer.